Hi, cutie patooties. Okay, guys, welcome back to the Evergreen RX. I'm your host, Hayden, licensed mental health therapist, Cancer Moon, and the first to get deep at any party. And my hair is so uncomfortable, I literally can't focus. Anytime I think I'm like having like a good hair day or like a cute moment or something, all I gotta do is hit record on a podcast and that will change. It's so crazy filming yourself. It's quite the experience. So this week's episode, I thought I would do a little different. I don't have a listener question for this week, and thought it would be a great time to kind of catch up with some wellness related things, topics that are on my mind as of late. I feel like I've been in a really reflective, retrospective, I don't know if that's the proper use of that word, mood lately. Like I've just kind of been, I think the main reason for that is it was my birthday recently. And so my birthday always puts me in a little bit of a reflective mood, thinking about the past year, thinking about getting a year older. I'm one of those people, I really like my birthday. I like a reason to celebrate, but I like a reason also to just recalibrate. It's kind of great too, because my birthday is like about, around halfway through the year. And so it's like a check-in point after New Year's, where I can kind of check in on my goals, see if they're still aligned, like treat it like a little personal New Year's and think about, what do I want my next year of life, my next trip around the sun to be about or to be focused on? And what did I learn and how did I grow and change from this last trip around the sun? And, I think for a lot of us that are younger, each birthday can feel pretty consequential, from age 10 to age 18. Like every year you are rapidly developing. And I don't think that really stops after 18 either. I mean, I think you're still rapidly developing all throughout, your 20s. And so they really can feel very consequential, and like so much happens and so much changes over that time. And definitely say that my last year of life has felt like one of the biggest. I don't know. I think I kind of say that every year. I'm not really sure. Maybe it just like feels that way every time. Okay, had to take the hair down. But I think it kind of maybe feels like that to me every year. One, because I really prioritize growing and changing, and I've been in therapy for a long time, so I'm like always like making these big leaps and connections and trying to work on myself, so that's probably a large part of it. But I do really think that there's something to say about this phase of life and my growth. And so I just thought, like, let's chat about some of my reflections. As you guys probably can tell from the title, a big piece of what I've been learning about myself and how I want to live my life in the past couple of years has really been about scaling back, doing less, chilling out a little bit more, feeling less pressure and anxiety around making things happen. So some of you will really relate to this. Some of you might be a little bit different. You might be in an opposite camp, which I won't be able to speak to as well because it's not my experience. But, I think that there are some commonalities, especially those of you in your like mid-20s, early 20s. I think there's a lot of commonalities about what we're all kind of dealing with and struggling through at this age. And so I wanted to give a space to talk through my musings. And I will say, I've told this to so many people because it just feels really dramatic. I just turned 26 and I feel like my brain is finally on. Like, girl booted up completely. It was booting up pretty strongly from like maybe 23, 24, but she's on now. And I'm like, what? Why didn't I get to go to like high school with this brain? Can I just go to high school when I'm 26? Because it feels like everything would have been so much simpler. I just have so much more capacity, it seems, for planning, for making decisions, for feeling like I'm on top of things and I can handle things and I can understand instructions and like what people want from me. And yeah, it's just really wild. And so that's been one of the biggest like standout things. And I think it's actually really helped me with all the other reflections that I'm going to talk about, and really with that idea of like chilling out. I think that now that I have more of a capacity, it like comes a little bit easier to be able to like plan for things and to manage task lists and chores and stuff like that. I think that's helped me feel more relaxed more often, because I was putting in so much effort before that it just all felt really effortful, and it felt like I couldn't really take my eye off the ball, or I was gonna like drop something or forget something or mess something up that was really important. Everything just felt super high stakes. And part of that, I believe, is because I was like maybe working a bit at the edge of my capacity, or kind of pushing a little bit past that. That's part of our development, is to develop from the time that we're babies. We always have to be pushing a little bit past the comfort zone and past what we're actually capable of, so that we can grow our abilities. Like, a baby has to try standing up for the first time before it actually really can stand up. It's not going to have the muscles, it's not going to have the motor skills, but it has to try so that it can build the muscles and build the skills necessary to stand. But now I feel like I'm catching up to where not everything feels like trying to stand for the first time. There's been like enough time, enough life experience, enough practice at things where some of the like daily living adult tasks, being a functioning adult in society, has become a little bit more natural. And it's so great. I love it so much. And I would say for anybody that's younger that might be listening, if I could go back and tell my younger self anything about it, which I cringe a little bit at, I feel like it's a little bit annoying. Like, I don't want to be standing here like, if, I could go back and do things again, like this is what I would do. Because when you're in it, you're in it. Like when you're younger, you can hear advice or what people think about things, but you're going to have to learn a lot of things just for yourself and through your experience. But I would say, if I could tell myself one thing, I would just be like, take it easier. Like, just go easier on yourself. Some of these things that you're really pushing yourself to do, that maybe you can do, but it's a real struggle, like you can just kind of chill on that a little bit. You can kind of step back a bit, because one day this won't be challenging, or you'll have more motivation to actually do it. I think one of the areas of my life right now that I'm trying to grow in is being able to like cook and eat more seasonally and eat from home and minimize food waste, and also maintain like a budget with the way that I grocery shop. And I get a little bit frustrated sometimes, and I get caught up in kind of that the mentality that I'm talking about. Like, I get caught up in thinking like, I need to just be able to do all of this right now. Like, I want to be better at this. Like, why does this not come so naturally? But then if I step back and just remind myself of this lesson, I can think, well, okay, right now my motivation is probably not as high as it will be in the future. Maybe if I have children one day, I'll have a higher motivation to do these things or to put more time into it. And so it will come a little bit more easily, or at least it will be, I'll have more energy to put towards it, because it'll be like a top priority. And so even though I know it's something I want, and I want to be a person that, eats seasonally and bulk preps meals and like, does a really good job at being able to kind of make things from scratch and not waste a lot of food, that's more like long-term goal stuff. And the things I'm doing now, the little things, the small changes I'm making right now, they'll build on themselves, and then, I'll be more equipped in the future. But it's okay if the long-term goal or desire I have for myself, I'm not really taking a ton of action on right now. If it just doesn't feel like the time, doesn't feel like the place, doesn't feel like the priority and the motivation is there at this time. And I really wish I could have told myself that, because I think I felt a lot of pressure in school, especially to want certain things or to want to pursue certain like avenues of education. You know, a lot of people that study psychology, a lot of people I was in undergrad with were, you know, had their eyes set on a PhD. And you hear people talk about like, you know, you don't have to do that and you can take time off, and like older people give the same advice that I'm giving, but it felt so urgent to me when I was younger, and it kind of felt like no, I have to do this now, or I have to push myself. And I just believe as I've grown up a bit, I see, oh, life is a lot longer than I was giving credit for when I was younger, in a weird way. I don't know exactly why. You know, sometimes they talk about how teens feel like they're immortal, they're going to live forever. I think I really had an experience of feeling like I needed to do things so quickly and that I didn't have as much time as I do. And so it's been really nice feeling that space and that expansiveness that I do have so much time. I mean, ideally, but, you know, just presumably I do have a lot more time than I'm giving myself. And there's a lot of phases in my life still ahead of me. And so some of these things that I desire or I want or I have visions of in my life might just be for later phases than right now. And in that same vein, you know, I think I've just been feeling a lot more contentment. Like I don't have to struggle against myself so much. I can work with myself a little bit more and just meet me where I'm at. And part of what that has looked like for me is really being able to heal in the joy, healing in a joyful space. And I might have mentioned this on a podcast previously, but I think I had a perception that healing is hard and arduous and dark and, you know, it's like the shadow work people talk about, because that had been my experience. I was struggling more with beliefs or like a real negative self-talk or critical voice in my head. And so it felt like healing was happening in more of these dark spaces. And now that I've made some progress on that, because I do think that's a part of the healing process, but now that I've made some progress, I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, healing can also happen in joy. You know, I had this wonderful get together with a lot of my friends for my birthday, and I just felt so surrounded by love and care, and I felt so much gratitude for the people in my life, and I could feel like their love and gratitude back at me, and I felt deserving of it. And it was just really wonderful and very healing for me. Really kind of healing some old narratives I had about myself in this really wonderful celebratory moment. And so I've been leaning more into that, and I think it's really helped add a level of contentment and kind of unwire the belief that like something's wrong with me or like something needs to be fixed. So another thing that I've learned, and this is kind of a longer piece of what I want to talk about today, which is, you know, if we find ourselves getting caught up in productivity or life admin work or just everything always feeling like a to-do list and being really bogged down by that, something I've really learned is the beauty of letting things fall through the cracks. Hey, old Hayden, she wouldn't believe that. I was so afraid of letting things fall through the cracks. And like, girl, I still kind of am. If something really big fell through the cracks, that would be tough. I would feel bad about that. But one, I think I have more self-compassion for myself to be able to handle when things like that happen. But also, it's kind of great when something falls through the cracks and you're like, wait, hold on, nothing bad came of that. It's okay. Like last week, I let a work email fall through the cracks as somebody I was trying to coordinate with for a consultation call. And I saw the email pop up. And so I opened it, but it wasn't at a time where I could respond. And then I forgot to respond. And the time we were trying to coordinate passed. And when I realized, sent him an email, rescheduled, it was fine. What a big deal. They didn't care. It really was okay. And that was a super helpful moment to be like, oh, I don't have to try to be on top of everything all the time to avoid something slipping past me and having to maybe do a little bit of work to figure it out. I think that goes along with this idea, like, are we maybe wasting some of our one wild and precious life? Are we wasting some of the time that we have? Because while I said I think we have a lot more time than sometimes we can feel like or perceive that we do, we also only have, this lifetime, and we don't know, and we don't get a guarantee of how long that will be. And sometimes I think I'm spinning my wheels a bit. Maybe you feel this too. Comment down below if you feel this, but I can feel like I'm spinning my wheels to feel productive and to seem productive, but am I actually being valuably, am I actually valuably substantively bettering my life? It makes me think about, when I feel that I'm falling behind on life admin tasks. Maybe my house has gotten a little dirty. The fridge has like old containers piled up in it. The laundry is backed up. I haven't scheduled my dentist appointment, whatever. Like these random things that I feel, oh shit, I'm falling behind. It's okay. Like, it's just life. Like, I don't know. It's just life. Because most of those things are just going to have to be done again. I'm going to clean my house and I'm just going to have to clean it again in, a couple weeks time. So if you miss it, or if you don't go to the dentist for like 6 months or like a couple years, like I did once, in my defense, it was COVID, and then you remember or you have the time or space to do that thing again, great. That's fine. It's okay. What are we doing it all for? It really makes me think about a story that my mom told me about my grandfather. When my grandfather was dying, he was flipping through all these like old receipts and bills that he had kept. You know how grandparents are. They got the files and, every hard copy of everything. And he was flipping through them and just said, wow, looks like a lot of wasted time. How profound, how interesting to hear that perspective. Like really, at the end of the day, as cliche as it is, at the end of the day, that's not the stuff that matters. And yeah, I'm like battling in my head right now that I'm just kind of saying the same things. It's like, wow, 20-something-year-old realizes the profound truths of life that everybody's been saying. And I struggle with that because I want this podcast to add more to the conversation. I don't want to just repeat everything everyone's saying, but this is true to my experience. And this is something that I really have been like embodying or more deeply understanding lately. And I think it is important to share. And just, if we feel that we need that space, if we feel that sometimes we just got to let things drop, or we're just gripping so hard and we can tell we're gripping hard onto these things that we feel like we're supposed to do and we just don't really want to do it, maybe there's a little bit of permission. Like, it's okay not to. I'm not saying like ignore your bank account or like don't keep track of things you need to keep track of. Obviously that's important. That's part of being a responsible adult, and I still do plenty of that stuff and it makes me feel good. But if it's starting to have this rub between like, no, I can't go hang out with you last minute because I need to get these tasks done, maybe the question is more like, can I do these things later? Is it really gonna cause any issues if I prioritize, the present moment, the experience of life that are right in front of me right now? And I think that the temporality of life, which I've touched on, time feeling like really short and we don't have as much as we have. And then also that side of that it is short and we only get so much time, and kind of balancing these dualities and thinking about the temporality of life, whether it be a life phase we're in, an age that we are, life overall, never being a teenager again, leaving your 20s, like whatever it is, this temporality, relationships change, they come and go, work comes and goes. There's just constant flux and fluidity. And I think we can use that idea of temporality, really grabbing onto it and using it as a tool of empowerment and not a fear. Because one, if everything is temporary, then, as people like to say, that means the bad shit passes too. So when we're in a really hard moment, we can remember this is temporary, this too shall pass. And the other thing is we can always recalibrate to what's really important. You know, if the good moments are also fleeting, let's try to have really good moments of the things that matter most to us, the stuff that brings us the most joy in this lifetime. And it also gives us the freedom to change things up if we want. Because I think about, we're all walking our own path in life. So you are the one carving this path. It has not been walked before exactly the way that you will walk it. And so say, you're walking through the forest and you want to start veering towards the ocean a bit. You know it's over there and you just want to see what it's like to go a little bit closer. And perhaps you start walking that direction and you decide you miss the forest. You can just begin to veer back. You get to be the guide of your own path in this life. And there is something so amazing about the fleeting nature of it, about the temporality that allows us to just say, fuck it. This is my one wild and precious life. And the last part through it all, I think we can always come home, and I'm learning more and more about this in my own life, just to come home to remembering that we're not alone in it, even though you're on your own path and there's a lot of power in being able to decide what you do. You're always walking alongside other people. Might not always be the same people, but you're always walking alongside other people. And so there's something really so special about remembering how intrinsically connected we are and how unalone we are. If we just reach out, if we just look for the people around us, and even if we're not going through the same transitions, we're not having the same realizations, we're not, in the exact spot as them, we can at least understand that we're both going on a journey and we're both discovering new things, and we can learn from each other. And that's part of what I hope too by having this more like chatty, just let you guys know what's on my mind talk. One, it's more vulnerable for me to do that, which is an interesting thing to try. But also, even if not everything I say resonates with you, or some of it feels like old hat, there's something really nice about knowing that we can connect over the experience that we're going through as human beings. At least it's really nice for me. So if there is something that stuck out to you today, or a thought that you want to share, please comment below the podcast. Please go follow me on Instagram or TikTok and leave me a comment. I really want to hear it. And I want to know that this isn't just going out into the void, into people's ears. And I want to know what you think and what you feel and what all of this means to you too, or the things that you're learning in your life. So yeah, that's really it. There's so many more thoughts that I have, honestly. I was afraid I wasn't going to have enough to talk about, and then that's just not the case. I have too much to talk about. So I'll probably do more catch-up episodes like this in the future, because I love you got your questions, and please send me your questions at theevergreenrx@gmail.com, or text me or call me at 512-655-9888 so I can answer more questions. But I don't want to only do that. I have other intentions and dreams and different styles of episodes that I'll continue to incorporate, even though answering y'all's questions is my bread and butter. So I hope you guys liked it. And if you did, please share it with a friend. That helps so much. And follow the podcast so you can see my episodes when they go live every Wednesday. And if you'd be so kind, as a little maybe post-birthday gift to me, to leave me a 5-star review, that would be amazing. It helps me so much. So, okay, thanks guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.